to go. Alright, so hello everyone and welcome back to Dyson Sphere Program. Now last time we left off, we had been just barely setting up green science, I think. That's what we'd done. So now we want to make the green science go a lot faster. And we are unlocking better mining, which is fine. So you are short on quantum chips. You have plenty of the graviton lens things, although I don't know if sustained production of that is going to be good enough. But we're just going to fix the problems that we see and then move on to the next ones later. So you are short on plane filters, and you have everything you need. You just need more production. So let's go to here and just grab a solid copy paste out of there, and then here we go. So let's just add a bunch more of those so that it's never going to be an issue, so that we'll have more than enough of this step and we won't have to constantly be running back and forth upgrading this every other time that we need it. So this should move whatever the issue is onto the next thing, onto whatever is feeding this, or if the graviton lenses become short. Okay. So this is all set up, and all of these are now running. So that is that. And even so, they're kind of slow, but 4.7 per minute each. And then these are 9.4 per minute each. So what are the ratios like that? So this takes 2 plane filters every 6 seconds, so that's 1 per 3 seconds. These make 1 every 12 seconds. So we need 4 of these for every one of those. And we have 8 to 2. So that should be just an exactly correct ratio, which should be fine, but let's just make sure by just adding a bit more buffer onto this. So we're going to add another couple of these guys in, give them some room for the tropic line, and then this all has to somehow connect across like that. I don't think this one is actually used, but we'll connect it anyways. Alright, so now that's all in. We should now have more plane filters than we need to use to make our 2 machines worth of quantum chips. So that should be all good now. And it looks like green science is coming out now. So that's all good. And is that going to be enough for the green science production? So this is 1 chip every 24 seconds. And these are 1 every 6 seconds. So if we're getting 2 of these, right, because we have 2 machines making quantum chips, that's 1 every 3 seconds, which means we can run 8 of these. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Does that really cap out at 9? It doesn't even go up to 10? No, it apparently caps out at 9 right now. So this, I guess is theoretically just barely not enough quantum chips. So let's add in one more of these, which we should be able to do because we have the extra plane filters. So we copy paste that, pop it in there, and now we just need to get the belts connected across. And it's just these two, right? That one connects across, that one connects across, that one goes up. And now, assuming we have enough of all the inputs to this stuff, which we almost certainly don't, that will no longer be the problem. So I can already see that the titanium glass is falling behind. And you are just titanium, regular glass, and water. So that should be an easy fix. We should have no serious issues with any of those. So we just copy paste that in and get another couple of those, and then we're gonna hook these belts up and then redo it in a minute because we want to be able to copy paste this without doing too much of this manual connection work. Alright, so we do that. That is more titanium glass. Now we need to run back and grab our belts. And probably what we're going to have to do is like get the belt depot to deposit closer to us so that we don't have to do this. So we can go here, we can pick up all of our belts, and now we're up to 300, and we can grab those 300 from there. So we have 600 of them, and now we can fly back, and we actually need to grab splitters as well. We are down to 9 of those, unless they wound up in here. Yeah, they did. So we actually have 109 of them, which is very different from 9, to say the least. So we actually do have plenty of those. So now let's fly back on over, and let's also just check. The green science is being fully utilized. It looks like the purple science might also be doing weird stuff, but one of those two is currently the limiting factor, so it's fine to just continue on as we've been doing, upgrading the green science production. Alright, so now we're back over here, and let's see. So we had all this titanium glass production. How much did we actually need? So, let's see. The plane filters are a main thing, and that's 1 every 6 seconds for those. Whereas these are 2 every 5 seconds, which kind of a disgusting ratio, but it means that theoretically the 4 of these can handle 8 of these, and plus a little bit. So let's just add in another 2, and then it should be fine in total. Alright, so that goes in. And we can connect all of these belts across. And that should be enough titanium glass now. Unless we're running out of one of its inputs, which should hopefully be unlikely. Okay, and then the next thing we need to chase down are the Casimir crystals, which are also clearly running low. And those are using this alt recipe, right? So it's 1 every 4 seconds, and the plane filters are 1 every 12 seconds, so we need 3 We need a third of the Casimir crystal
Extraterrestrial
production
dark fog is assaulting.
for these. So if this is 12, then we need 4 of these, and we only have 2. Yeah, so that checks out. Dark fog is attacking somewhere. Hopefully not an issue. So we will just expand this out a little bit. Out to there should be more than enough. And then we connect the belts across. Connect that belt across, although it doesn't actually need to be. That's just a random unrelated belt that got caught in the thing. So now we connect all these across. And just keep going. Alright, that should be good on that side. Now we just have to get this side all the way down. And no, clicked on the wrong one there. Alright, so that should be all clear. This is apparently taking a whole lot of hydrogen. And it's not actually sure if this is running at 100% because of the hydrogen source. Yeah, so this is now low on hydrogen, so that's going to be yet another thing to fix. That dark fog attack is lasting a long time, and it has hit some things which I don't want it to be hitting. Okay, that is concerning. It looks like the numbers are going down, but we're going to need to figure out what happened there and fix it from happening again. Alright, so this, at this point, it looks like the quantum chips are no longer the issue. It looks like the gravity lenses are now the limiting factor. So that's good. And if we just run down to see what's going on with them, they are low on this stuff, and you are low on the particle containers. So let's run all the way back and see what we can do about our particle container production. That's like been a constant source of problems. So where even is that? That's back here. And was this just like having raw resource input? Okay, so this was the one where the EM turbines were not going very well. So everything else seems to be largely fine, but the EM turbines are way too short to get enough out. So we run back to look at the EM turbines, which should be back here somewhere. So you are out of electric motors, which are right next door. And these guys are... they've got plenty of gears, plenty of coils. They seem to be low on iron, although not like horrifically low on iron. But apparently that's the thing we need, is more just iron plates. So we fly all the way back here to look at where's the iron plates. Here it is. And it looks like this can be expanded a bit more. Alright, so we still have some room on our belts. So first of all, let's get all this nonsense upgraded. And okay, it actually looks like the iron ore input is the problem, not just the processing, although the processing might also be an issue eventually. start by just upgrading all of those to the next tier. And then we need to figure out what is up with the ore source, because I know it's like coming in from... I'm pretty sure at some point in this whole process we're importing some from a different planet. So yeah, we have this guy, and you are bringing in some amount of ore, but obviously not enough. So I believe that was... So this should actually work out, because I want to head over to the planet with all the lava stuff, because I'm pretty sure that's where the geothermal power station got destroyed. So we're going to need to check out what happened there and prevent it from happening again. And that's also, I'm pretty sure, where we have our iron ore input for this. So we'll see if there's something going wrong there. Now, what do I want for this? We have laser turrets to deal with the defensive situation. We have power poles for all that stuff. Do we have mining drills? We have 7 mining machines. That should be plenty. Alright, so let's just go to Agena 1, the lava planet. And we need... Oh, we also need fuel, right? So let's throw some fuel in. And let's also fly over to our recharge area to get... so that we can leave on a full battery instead of a nearly empty battery. So we run down here. And we can stand in here. And actually, there's a new fancy substation thing, isn't there, that we can do, which might be able to charge us better. Who knows? We'll have to experiment with that a little bit later when we have time. For now, we just have to sit here and charge up. And any second now. Alright, that's full enough.
Cruise mode.
So off we go. And full steam ahead towards Agena 1. So we just head on over, and we're going to have to figure out if there's not enough mining machines, or there's not enough just space platform throughput, or what exactly the issue is for the iron supply. And we're also going to need to figure out how that random geothermal plant got destroyed.
Cruise ended.
So we land here. Unfortunately, because there's something damaged, we do have just like a window towards it. So it's this guy over here which got attacked. So we can stand here and charge that up, and then if we just like get a couple Tesla towers and a couple laser turrets just sort of placed around. Alright, so that should no longer be an issue. And actually, can I just craft a battlefield analysis base for this? I can just cook one of those up real quick. And then I assume signal towers are going to be too tough. Yeah. Alright, so let's just get a battlefield analysis base there. And I don't think we have any spaceships to feed it with, so we'll just have to leave it for that for now.
Research complete.
Alright, we finished photon spotlight mining, which should be handy. Oh, you can automatically send these with logistics drones. That's actually incredibly handy for the future. For now, we're just going to ignore it. And so that's a better chemical plant, which we could get. Or we could get a tier 3 replicator or assembly machine. Let's get the tier 3 assembly machine. Let's get that queued up. Just see but that happens, so we can
Flight mode.
kind of just skip the tier 2 assembly machines, hopefully, and go straight to the really good ones. Okay, so this is the place that we're doing our mining currently, and we just have 3 of those feeding into this. So it is purely a limitation of the ore input, I think. So these belts, just like these 4 mining machines, are not enough. So first of all, we can't like coincidentally craft one of these, can we? No, certainly not. But that will be a priority to get around to shortly after this. In the meantime, let's just find another iron patch, which I'm pretty sure we got a bunch of them in this sort of immediate vicinity. So like, yeah, right over here. We can just add more of these guys in. And of course you're going to need foundation, so let's get that area evened out a little bit. And then we pop some of these guys in. And I think the upgraded version will be, like, it says easier placement, so it might just handle the entire node by itself, which would be quite nice to have. But for now, we're just going to have to do this sort of stuff to get it to work. And then we can just shove a power pole right in there, and another one out there. Alright, now we just take this out and belt it up over all of that. And then it can go straight back down and into that, and then we just have to get these 2 guys connected up, which should be easier because they're not sort of in the middle of a solar field. So this comes around through, just sort of dodging all these random laser turrets, and in. Okay. So this is a full belt of iron ore loaded up into this. Now can we just give you some vessels of your own? I don't know if that'll actually make a difference or not, but we've got them, so we might as well. Alright, so now it's sort of evened back down to a little bit less than a full belt of iron, which should still be fine, I think. So clearly the number of logistics vessels isn't the problem. It was definitely the iron source. So can we just squeeze like one more of these guys in, like over here? Yes, somehow that fits. Kind of a miracle. The output belt does not fit, so we'll have to remove a solar panel for that, but that's fine. So this just comes out, snakes through there, and in. And just in case it was important, you can have your solar panel back, just sort of randomly in the general vicinity.
Flight mode.
Alright, so iron mining is back up to the point where it's like a full belt's worth. If not just barely short of that. So that should be all fine. So now let's head back to the base and start getting some of this extra fancy technology set up.
Cruise mode.
Oh boy, the dark fog hive is right up there. We should be able to pretty easily outrun it at this point. Like, we've tested how close we can get before it's an issue, and like we can fully get into combat with it and then escape and be fine. So it looks like we did get quite close because the fleet spawned. But overall, nothing to worry about. We are right back.
Cruise ended.
And we've landed safely.
Flight mode.
Okay, so let's see here. Where are... Oh, we're in the old base. So we need to head down this way to get to our charging areas. And then we need to just slap down some machines to make some fancy high-tech buildings. And we can stop by here. And has green science stockpiled at all? No, it looks like green and purple science are both kind of competing for what we don't have much of. The green science should have stockpiled to some extent because we haven't been using it for this research. But it's unclear how much exactly that's helped. Alright, so we are almost fully charged up. Alright, there we go. That should be good enough. Now let's head over to this. So this all seems to be working. Let's just feed in some of the green science from our personal inventory into there, just because somehow that got in when I dismantled a belt or something. And so now that can be all fed up and going. Alright, so it looks like the purple science is actually just incredibly slow.
Flight mode.
So let's figure out what's up with that. Just see if it's an easy fix, then we'll fix it. Otherwise, fine. It actually looks like purple science is going at full speed unless this can stack higher, which it can stack to higher. So let's get those in, and now you'll be a little bit quicker, and that should be all nice and ready to go.
Flight mode.
Alright, so now we will fly down the short distance to the end of the bus, and it's time to add on some new rows. So we want the advanced mining machines, we want the plain smelters, which actually require something we don't have yet, and we're eventually going to want the tier 3 assembly machines. We haven't gotten those yet. So let's start with the advanced mining machines, because I believe we have everything we need to just make these. So let's grab assembly row V4, pop it in, and you can be buildings, advanced mining machine. Paste the recipe across. Alright, so we need titanium alloy, frame material, supermagnetic ring, quantum chip, grading crystal. We actually have enough inputs for that. We have 3 inputs, 4 input. Alright, we actually need to redesign this ever so slightly to have a 5th input, but that's fine. We just take this row down, reverse that, and can we reverse these? No, we have to dismantle them and rebuild them. That's fine. So those go in like that. And I thought I told this to reverse path. I must have clicked it an extra time somehow. Alright, so that is that. Then we need the new output belt, which goes out there and gets a spray coater, and we're going to need to connect the spray coater up to everything, which I think that does it. Not sure though. We'll have to stare at it once this actually is running. We are almost at the assembly machine Mark III's being done, so that will be a fantastic upgrade to have. So, titanium alloys, frame materials, quantum chips are right here. frame materials are probably not too far off.
Flight mode.
Alright, so let's fly back all the way to here. So here's the frame materials. So we follow this belt out,
Research complete.
and we finished our assembly. So this belt comes all the way out, just all the way down to the end of the bus. So that's one. Then we need our chips, right? So that's these guys. They just need to come out a little bit like that. And we need titanium alloy, grading crystals, and one other thing. What was it? Oh, the supermagnetic rings. Got it. Alright, titanium alloy, titanium alloy. That should be somewhere close to where I was previously, right? Because I'm pretty sure that just goes into the frame materials. Yes, so somewhere out here, follow this belt, and it goes part of the way out here. Did I just see power flickers? I did just see power flickers. Oh boy, that's concerning. Okay, so if we have power flickers, that means we need more solar panels. So let's just finish this up before we get around to doing that. So we have titanium alloys.
Mineral
We
depleted.
need grading crystals, which are these, and then we need the supermagnetic rings. And then we need to run along and spam down another 10 billion solar panels. Okay, so this all goes in. And supermagnetic rings. Where could those possibly be? I know I make them like way far back. I'm hoping I don't have to run all the way back there to find where they're used, though. Okay, here they are. Here they are. So we're able to find them at like exactly the right spot. So that's good. So we need to build this just as far as we can go in a click, and then just keep doing that until it's fully set up. And then we're going to have to run back and forth to actually get this finished. But for now, that's all the items for this setup in, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inputs. Yes, 5 inputs indeed. Okay, so let's cut you back a couple just for spacing reasons. Then we get a splitter. And all of this goes, you come out, loop around that way, and go into one of the inputs. Then we get the titanium alloy to do the same thing. So you come down, loop around, and in. Then we get the frame materials to do the same. So you go down, loop around, and in there. Then we have the grading crystals, which also go in. So you loop around, and you have to go out that way. And then just one more. Just one more and we'll be good. And then this comes out here and all the way down there. And that'll be everything in once we get the supermagnetic rings. So then we just need to go out this way and get our box set up for the output. And you can get some transportation stuff on top. and store just one stack should be all that we need. Power pole in for that to be cleared. Give you your logistics bots, and then let's add some of these guys to my list of things so we can have between 30 and 45 of them. And now we just need to bring this belt back, and we almost made it to the box, but we just barely ran out. So we can desperation swap back to tier 2 belts, because I happen to have some of those on hand, and then we'll want to upgrade that later just for convenience's sake.
Depleted.
But for now, what we need to do is run back and get this belt fully finished off. So that just goes. And there we are. So that should give us our fancy high-tech mining drills. And that hits the row of machines, and it is still getting those fed in, and it's kind of slow because it's the far input, but it is working. And now we have to deal with the power problems. Okay, so if I remember correctly, we had 2 rows for a lot of these and 4 rows of panels for a lot of them. So what I think we need to do is just run down here and make a gigantic copy paste of like as many solar panels as possible, and then just place that in, and we will just ignore the parts that have other buildings on them. So you can just go through all of that, and then we'll skip through that whole area because it's complicated, and then we'll just get over to here. But we are very rapidly approaching the point where just manually spamming solar panels everywhere is no longer like a super practical way of doing things. Like, that's gonna be a nice upgrade, right? But it's not going to resolve the problem single-handedly. It's just gonna push it off for a little bit at best, and at worst it might not even be enough. We'll have to see what happens. But we are probably going to need to start looking at actual things that the game is named after in order to solve our problems. Alright, so those all go in. We should be able to just pop over here, grab another 150 solar panels so that we will have enough to finish off all the placement that we need. So now we run back over here, and we just sort of walk alongside our construction bots as we get all this stuff built up. And again, this should substantially offset the power demand that we've been building up. So all this stuff goes in. And pretty soon, like, these solar panels are taking up more and more space. It's not going to be that long until the space that they take up just, like, isn't going to be worth it. And that is when we start just launching stuff into space and being fine with it. So this all goes in. Now we've sort of shifted up to here for a little bit for a solar panel placement. Alright, all of these go in. And then the last couple panels get built. Alright, so now how does the grid look? We are charging we have like 40 megawatts to spare, which is not a huge amount, especially considering like we're gonna continue expanding dramatically as we go, and we also at some point are gonna want to set up planetary shields and stuff, which the current setup is not capable of dealing with. So we're in the clear for now, assuming that Agena 1 doesn't get blown up by dark fog, which it shouldn't, question mark, but who knows. Alright, so we've done quantum printing, that's all good. So if we want to launch the Dyson sphere, this would be the recipe that we need to unlock, but that's 1600 purple science, which is quite a lot. We could just get quantum chemical plants. We could just like do some random stuff with like attack drones or something. I guess let's just click attack drones for a bit. Purple science is a limiting factor, yellow science isn't really, so we can just do something that lets all of our types of science build up over time. And that'll put us in a better spot for the future. Alright, so now that that's all done, let's see if we can find our charging area so that we can just stand by that for a bit, because we were getting low on mech charge. Alright, so we stand here for a little while. Let's click sort the inventory. And we have a lot of items on the bus currently, which look like they are not being produced fast enough. So that is interesting. At some point we just stop with the bus. Like, the bus is good for medium production. Like, when you want to set up like a decent amount of science and like a decent amount of like building production and stuff, a bus is great. When you've worked it down to like, these are the 10 things that I need to create an enormous number of, the bus struggles a lot. So that is basically where we're at now. So these are 2.3 per minute, but they are mostly running well, at least for now. And that is getting filled up. I should be requesting those, right? You have 28 of them. You should be providing to me... Oh, I see no item filter specified. Duh. So you pop that in, and now we have... Oh, I have to do the dumb, complicated thing where we do that. And now I have 28 of those. Now let's just, like, pop one down and see how exactly it works. If I can just find a resource patch to just test it on real quick. So this isn't actually going to be, like, a resource patch that I use, but it will be an experiment. We need to bring... This experiment is annoyingly complicated because of the ocean in the way. Alright, so this, we get our power pole over to here, and then we can slap down one of you. Oh, and you are real big, so you can just grab the entire patch by yourself.
You've built an advanced mining machine. It can cover more veins and transport ores by logistics trains in addition to conveyor belts. You can also adjust the mining speed and configurations. Faster mining speed means higher power consumption.
Alright, so you just provide stone, and you provide a lot of it. Okay, tutorial guy can go away. And if we wanted to, we don't even need to belt this stuff. We can just, like, slap this down, just organize it up in some logistics hubs, and then not have to worry about it at all. So that's pretty cool. I guess we might as well. Now, this doesn't have, like, its own individual stone.
Flight mode.
It doesn't have its own logistics bots that can be assigned to it, probably because that's just not how that works. So let's head over here and find where our stone input is and just set that up so that that can be fed from that, which, I mean, you might as well, right? Like, you've gone to all the trouble of building it, and you might as well connect it up, since it's just going to be basically free. Alright, so here is our main stone belt, which currently is obviously more than enough. And, I mean, we don't even use stone for that many things. So, I don't know. We might just not bother. We have plenty of stone, it seems. So let's worry about it later. Alright, so, next step is more research.
Flight mode.
How's our research stockpiles going? Let's fly all the way back down there to see how that is. So, research. We've got... Okay, we actually have some amount of stockpile of everything. We have a couple hundred purple, like 300 green, thousands of yellow, and more red and blue than we know what to do with. So, if we could have, like, a basic green thing. So, destroyers use 800 green. That's more than we have. These guys would be quantum chemical plants. Who knows? We hardly use any of those. Allow ray receivers to consume graviton lens to increase max output power. That seems unnecessary, hopefully. Alright, let's look over here then. So if we use 2,000 green, we can figure out all the ores of all the systems. 800 green makes the mech even cooler and fancier. Now, construction drone flight speed is easy. We can make the mecha warp faster. And we can make our energy shield better. So what about down here? More distribution range on our drones would be very nice. If that could be planetary instead of just like for part of it. Let's see, is there actually something that it says? Distribution range 110 degrees. So I think if we get to 180, then it's full. So like this would be, because theoretically the opposite side of the planet is 180 degrees away. So that would be nice. Vein utilization would obviously be good for efficiency. Then we have all the space fleet stuff down here. So we can get +1, +1. We can just keep increasing the number of fleets if we need to. But, like, currently that's not really the issue. Like, it would take so much to get to a point where we could actually do anything with it that I'm not sure why we would bother. So this is just research speed, not like efficiency. Alright, lot of options. Let's do distribution range. Distribution range should be reasonably helpful. And hopefully we can build up the science to do more interesting stuff later. For now, let's head down and figure out what we need to do to make assembly machine 3s. So it's assembly machine 2s plus some things which we've already crafted, which assembly machine 2s are machine 1s plus things we've already crafted, and machine 1s are obviously kind of trivial. So we are going to have to set up that entire row to make the assembly machine 3s. So we're going to have to set up three assembly rows, one for each of the inputs. I just realized it doesn't actually matter for this because they aren't being used for it, but this definitely should have gone through there. Alright, so that is one assembler row. This is 2. That is 3. This should give us our assembly machine tier 3s. So we go tier 1s here, tier 2s here, and then we pop over here to get tier 3s. And that is in. Alright. So now we need to, first of all, just do this quick setup so that if we can just grab these freaking outputs. Alright. Logistics bot coverage increase. That's good. So we just need you to feed just directly back into there. And you to just feed directly back into there. So that should provide us with these guys going across. Now we just need to get all these inputs through. So you need plates, gear wheels, green circuits.
Flight mode.
It's always very entertaining when you wind up with this like incredibly simple inputs for stuff this late in the game. So we have plates there. Let's bring those forwards. So we go here.
Flight mode.
And these just come down this way. Past all of this stuff. And into this general area. There we go. So that's plates. Then we need to find gear wheels and green circuits. And also, I guess, let this construction finish. I have no idea where either of those things will be, but they should be in this sort of starting area because they're so early along the production line. So let's run. Let's just keep on walking down this way. Green circuits found. So now we can bring these in, and
flight mode.
This goes all the way forwards. This is probably just not like the most efficient possible order to be constructing things in. Like there's probably not many things that are going to be needing green circuits out at this level. So that's fine. And then finally we need gear wheels. And then we're just going to walk across and let all this stuff get built. So gear wheels should also be in this sort of general vicinity. That's stone. Okay, just keep walking. I'm pretty sure gear wheels were one of the first things I did. So it should be like in this area is where I'd expect. And the problem is that it could be anywhere. I'm expecting it to be in this exact spot here. But I could be wrong.
Flight mode.
So let's just fly back until we see something in that spot. No, that's magnets. Alright. So the gear wheels are actually up here. But that's fine. And we didn't even overshoot by all that much. So we can grab this belt, run it forwards, and just keep on going.
Extraterrestrial dark fog is assaulting.
Dark fog is really having a good time on Agena 1. They're just constantly attacking at this point. So let's just ignore them and hope that it all works out fine. Okay, they're attacking that spot with a geothermal plant again, which I'm not a fan of. But I did give a battlefield analysis base there. Alright, so the attack was dealt with, but it looks like some stuff got destroyed, so we're going to have to bulk up the defenses there. And or just like wipe out dark fog on that particular vicinity. Alright, so this has almost been fully placed. Alright, so now we just have to stand here and let all this stuff get actually built. And it looks like they managed to wipe out that geothermal plant again. So yeah, we're definitely going to need to bulk up the defenses there, because apparently they're ignoring our perfectly good signal tower and heading out to that place instead. Alright, so now we just stand here, let belts get constructed, and eventually everything will line up and work properly. So this all goes out. This is the slightly more tedious part of this. So it looks like green circuits are officially through and finished. So now we just have to get all of this stuff to get the gears. Alright, so that can all go in. And I don't know why all the construction drones are heading all the way down there when there's missing belts right up here. Alright, we are receiving deliveries of items from the drones now, which is always good. Almost there. Gotta be. Alright, just a little bit further. It really does just keep going, but there it is. That should be everything, I think. And our belt supply has shown back up, so that is all good. Okay, so now we can fly down here. Let's stop by the charger to get that going for a little bit. And they're already moments away from attacking Agino 1 again. Okay, so our science situation, we have a lot fewer purple science backlogged, less than even green science at this point. So is there anything at all that doesn't require that? I guess pile sorter upgrade. We can set some of these random guys that just require yellow science in so that we can do some of that stuff while we're waiting. The power grid seems to be doing much better now. Like, the consumption demand has dropped hugely for some reason. Previously it was at like 250 or so, now it's down to 170. Don't know what that's about, but I'm not going to complain, at least for now. It's almost certainly because like some giant row of production has run out of resources and is causing problems.
Upgrade complete.
Alright, pile sorter upgrade. Very cool. I don't think that I care, but it's better to have it than not. And it's basically free at this point when we're just waiting on purple science anyways. Alright, so now all these guys get their splitters. They all get attached into their splitters. And now we just have to very carefully squeeze these belts around. Alright, solar sail life increased. And that last belt goes in. And that should be... yeah, so these machines are now working and providing Tier 1 assembly machines to these. Okay, so we have that going. Now we need to grab graphene and processors. So that should... processors are right here, because those are used constantly. Graphene shouldn't be too far behind either. So this is ironically going to be easier to build than that first step, just because everything is closer. So you go in, you wrap around there, and done. So now all of those construction bots go. Alright, graphene is next. If I were graphene, where would I be? It's probably out this way somehow. Let's see, which one of these guys would use graphene? So it's not the carbon nanotubes, it's not you. Alright, so you are going to take graphene as an input, right? So that's this belt here. Alright, and then this goes forwards. Apparently there's something after this that used it. And I just didn't notice because they all kind of look similar. Or like the Casimir crystals or something. Sure. Alright, so then this goes forwards. And we just get you up to there. And I've realized I've put these in a kind of inconvenient order, but that's fine. So you go into there, and that should be tier 2 belts once all this stuff gets finished. So we fly down there so that the graphene can flow through. Then we fly down this way. And all of this goes in. And these machines are now live, making tier 2 assembly machines. Which are just going to flow around and feed these. Which need particle broadbands and quantum chips, both of which should be quite close. So, quantum chips are right here, of course. So that comes down this way and just sort of into this general vicinity. Particle broadbands are also going to be up in this area of the belt, but probably going to be limited by throughput somehow. They're actually a little bit further back. All the way back here. So this is the production line. It doesn't seem to be working super well, but it is working occasionally. And they just go out to this. Alright, so we bring this belt all the way forwards. And I need to remember to not build this in a stupid way, which makes it difficult to finish construction.
Extraterrestrial
so that goes up to
assaulted.
there. Now all of that just have to run back and get built in. Then we connect everything up, and that should give us our assembly machine 3s, which will be marginally useful for some purposes.
Building destroyed.
Building destroyed. Lost a power pole, apparently. Unfortunate, but not the end of the world.
Flight mode.
Okay, so now we have one particle broadband's managed to make it down this way. And plenty of quantum chips. Alright, so let's just get this sorted out and then figure out what is wrong with all the rest of this stuff. So you go into there, you go into there. Now these belts go out and around into that, and then this one comes out and into that. And that should be everything for our tier 3 assembly machines. So all of these belts go in. And then we run down this way, get all of these belts in. And there we go.
Flight mode.
So now we have plenty of those. Kind of funny how the quantum chips are just infinite. And the particle broadbands are nowhere to be seen. Okay, there's another one. Is that going to trigger to craft? How many do we need? We need 8 of those. Alright, that's not great. That is gonna take ages. So let's fly back and figure out what is wrong with you. So you are missing carbon nanotubes, looks like. Carbon nanotubes are being produced here. And they are missing titanium plates. Okay, so we need to increase the titanium plate production. So we fly all the way down here to the exact opposite side of the entire main bus, which probably would be faster to go around the other way at this point. But it's too late now. So we have to go all the way down here and see what's wrong with titanium. Is there just too much demand, or is the supply having issues? Alright, so let's start with just like upgrading this whole line to be like reasonably tiered items. Alright, so that's now that. And this is purely just not enough smelting. So we need even more of these guys here. So we have to remove that box and splitter. And okay, we actually want to upgrade all of these inserters just so that we can not have to worry about using the old-fashioned ones. Okay, now blueprint, and we just copy paste like this entire blob down to there. And this is something that the fancier arc furnaces would be quite useful at, just like making this particular row faster. Also, it looks like our proliferator's broken again, because of course it has. So we will fix this up and then hop over to the proliferator issue. So what is your problem? So you don't... Oh, you also don't have enough titanium ingots. And it's because there's nothing here. So for some reason...
Flight mode.
Is this... Alright, we might actually just be short on titanium, potentially. Just like on titanium ore, specifically. Which is, fortunately, a kind of trivial fix now. Because we have the fancy new machines. So yeah, that isn't producing titanium, which means that that's not producing graphene tubes, which means that that's not producing proliferator. Okay, so we are going to find... So we're going to need to find our fuel, actually. We should have... Yeah, we can grab some of the hydrogen fuel out of there, and then power up real quick for another trip down to Agino 1, this time to increase the titanium mining. And also to fix all the stuff that got broken and damaged there. And while we're there, can we get another signal tower? If we can find crystal silicon, then we can put a signal tower in to try to control these guys to attack where we want them to attack. So, crystal... Oh, I think I passed it. Here it is. Let's grab some of that. And that should just let us craft up a signal tower or two. And now we should be in the clear, so we throw that in to the power fuel chamber, and now we will fly off
Cruise mode
towards Agino 1. We're going to have to get around that planet real quick. There we go. And off we go towards Agino 1. 2,000 meters per second is real fast, so we should be there any second now. Alright, here we are. So, where exactly are we going to? We are going to apparently the opposite side of the planet, and all of dark fog is like completely surrounding me, which is quite awkward. So let's just try to ignore that and go around this way, which works out quite nicely. So the damage stuff is all the way over there. And our signal tower is like in there. Oh, I see what's happening. So they're trying to come from here to that signal tower, and they're just sort of hitting all this stuff along the way. So if we put the signal tower in this area, then that should be much better at actually drawing them towards a specific location. So, signal tower in. Giant blob of laser turrets in. Battlefield analysis base. Hopefully we can craft one of those. We can. Alright, so then you get your battlefield analysis base just a little bit back. And this should be fully secure now, hopefully. We also have these missile turrets, which can just incidentally help to some extent, though I'm not expecting great things out of them. Okay, so now we are up here, and this is all set up. So now we need to grab some titanium.
Flight mode.
So we have this patch, which we're like kind of halfway using, but we can make it a lot better. Okay, so first of all, let's just dismantle those guys for a second. And now we can put on the advanced mining facility. If we can find a spot to fit it, actually we should be able to, if we just foundation up that area south of it. So now you can go in and get almost the entire thing, and then you can belt that out and directly in. Alright, so now you need a power pole to reach you. And it looks like we need that belt to be fully upgraded. Okay, so now you are doing your thing. Your collecting speed is 100%. We can make you go even faster if we want to. And you are giving like most of a full belt. Most, but not quite all of a full belt. Which should be fine. So the iron supply from here is capped out now, so that's good. Now, if I just like... Did I ever get those piler things? Can I craft one of those? I can. So, I just want to see if I can use this properly. So, actually, wait, don't I need two of them in order to, like, actually get things done the way I want? Automatic piler. We need a second one, which means we need these, which means we need energetic graphite, which I believe is impossible to get on this planet. Actually, no, it shouldn't be impossible. We should be able to just yoink some from there. Yes, thank you, battlefield analysis bases, for being completely filled with random junk. So, now we can make a second one of those. And we should, therefore, be able to... If I understand how these work, which is a big if. So we take that out, and I don't know what's going on with YouTube right now. The chat is absolutely freaking out. So now we can do two of those guys, and you feed into there, which feeds into there. Alright, so now we have that. I don't know if that works or not, but the theory is we now take another belt out of there into there. And now we pile them through that. Alright, it seems to not be working. It seems to not be working. Alright, how does the pilers work? Okay, 2 ports, 1 low and high. Cargo fed into the low port one at a time. It integrates the 2 cargoes into... Okay, so... Actually, this is actually simpler. So, if we just take you and feed you up into the top port somehow, which I don't understand how exactly I'm supposed to do that. Automatic piler. So let's look at this video. So you do that. If fed into the lower port one at a time, then integrates 2 cargoes into one and feeds the integrated cargo out from the higher port. Okay, so this... So in this image we have like stacked items there which go through there and then get unstacked. Or you have unstacked items which go through there and then get stacked. So is it a orientation thing? So if I take that out and I put you in facing this way, and then drag that belt through, does that work? Alright, I think it does. So we do that. Then I think we do then need the second one. So then that will take this into there and then feed across there. So now we can basically get 2 belts onto 1 belt. Very cool. So that is mostly just neat. Like, I don't expect it to be fantastically useful. You could obviously have just added a second belt into here, but it is good to know that that does work. So that all goes through. And it should hopefully have us covered for our titanium supply now. So now we have like 2 full belts of titanium going out of this advanced mining station, and we should be fine. Although, I guess now that this is equalized down, we actually want this to... We want to fire you up so that you can just go even faster. Can the grid support this? Yeah, the grid can super easily support that. So we will leave that as is. And that's probably just going to completely saturate this in terms of how much it can output, because I don't think the other side of this needs more than a full belt of titanium. Alright, but yeah, that should be fine. And now we can head back to our starting planet and see, because it's been a good while now, the issues should be solved by this point. Like, it should have had enough time for the titanium shipments to like make it across and fix things. Okay, seriously, what is going on with YouTube chat? Like, it is disconnecting and reconnecting constantly. I wonder if that's a YouTube thing or if it's also a Twitch thing that I'm not seeing, but... Or if it's like a thing on my end or something, but YouTube has been super weird all day so far. Like, it took forever to boot up as well, so I don't know what's... It's probably just YouTube having a weird day. Probably not anything that I can do super much about. Alright, so let's get back over to Agena 4 real quick and see how our titanium is looking. So here we are, and we land. It is quite nice how wherever we land is like always right next to our entire factory. Alright, so this looks like it is going much better now. Just like, even from this end I can tell that much. And we have some number of assembly machine 4s, although not a huge number, but some. So let's get this set up. We get you, we get you, we get a logistics distributor. You can be limited to like 2 stacks or so. And you get all of those. And you get to provide assembly machine Mark 3s. And then we just have to bring this belt over. Which, if I can select it properly, just goes in like that. Alright, there we go. So now we just let all this get built up. And that ought to do it. And so now we just need to go back to dealing with our, what's it called? The supply of the inputs to this, because this is clearly just not fast enough. I mean, it's not terrible, but it would certainly stand to be worse. So let's remove that and add in our quest for at least 50 assembly machine 3s. So now we have those. And now any place that we need to, we can use them. So next upgrade, we can do some random stuff that only requires yellow signs but isn't especially useful. And we could also do stuff that requires like purple and green science, which would be potentially quite useful. So let's see how much purple and green science we have. Let's see what's gone on with all of that stuff. So we fly over here. We have 600 purple science, 300 green science backlogged, which is not terrible at all. So what is like the most useful thing that we could be getting? It's probably not distribution range, it's probably not carrier capacity or engine. It's probably not anything up in this area. It's probably technology. Yeah, let's think about doing just vertical launching silo and just get onto there. So we can queue that up, and that is going to use up all of our purple science and not all of our yellow, red, and blue. They should be just fine. But this should be like the last step before we get proper, real Dyson sphere, not just Dyson swarm. So that should be fun. So is purple science still functioning properly? Like, is it just a little bit slower than the other production levels? Okay, no, it is missing something. Is that like half speed? It's missing these guys. That is to be expected. We already knew that we were low on them, and then we added more demand. So we need graphene tubes. And the graphene tubes, they've got their titanium, they've got their graphene. It just sort of is what it is for these guys. Like, they are doing fine. They could be doing better. So, let's see. First of all, this is working, right? So, how does the ratio go here? Graphene tubes. We are using this recipe here, which gives us 2 every 4 seconds, so that's 1 every 2 seconds. So one carbon nanotube every 2 seconds. These guys are going to require 1 carbon nanotube every 4 seconds per machine. So we need half as many of these as we do of these, and we have less than that. Oh, and they've also now broken on an unrelated way. So now they're low on graphene. So we have 5 of these in theory. 5, 6, 7, 8, which should be enough, but we don't have the graphene. Alright, so graphene supply. Where have you gone? Probably just because we need an enormous quantity of the stuff. Now, graphene was one of the ones with multiple alt recipes, right? So we had the fire ice alt and then the manual alt. I think we've flipped over to the fancy alternate by this point. We aren't using the other version at all. Yeah, so this is our production line. It's taking fire ice, which we have plenty of. We have plenty of fire ice. We just need more machines of this. Alright, so let's first dismantle this belt, which does nothing. It is just right in the way. And then let's... this sulfuric acid stuff is going to be a problem, because it also crosses the line in a very inconvenient way. I think we don't need all of these, and I think this last one in particular, we can just dismantle that. Because the reason we needed so much of that was mostly to make the graphene, but with this new alt we don't need that anymore. Alright, so now we have that upgraded. Let's get all of this stuff upgraded. So all of this goes to tier 3s, and it's a lack of placing item, which probably means I tried to auto-connect something extremely big. So if we just copy-paste a bunch of these guys, then that should be everything we need, I think. And let's bring that belt down to there. And we go into here. And we grab, like, this whole section. Is it possible to not grab the sulfuric acid thing? It is. So we grab all of that. And we are going to get as many of you as possible within this next segment. So that should be fine. That should be a massive upgrade. And, oh, this connects the wrong way. So we need you to be reversed. Sorry about that. Very unexpected sneeze there. So then that connects back. This has to go in to feed the inputs like that. And then that's the other output, the hydrogen output. So we get all of that. And I don't know what exactly our construction drones are doing. But that is in. And now we just need to... wait, no, that's backwards again. I keep doing that, where I get these things placed in backwards. So you go like that, you two go like that. And that should be everything connected up. So that's more graphene, which should hopefully address that issue. At least make it better. And okay, it looks like these guys do have like a tiny green belt, which might cause issues. Probably won't, but let's fix it just to be sure. So that is all upgraded. Now let's just fly down, do some recharge, and then see if that has done enough to address the problem, or if we're going to need even more. Alright, so we're at 415 science remaining, and it's slow to a crawl. We've used all of the purple science available. So now we just have to wait for that to build up, and hopefully occasionally upgrade it to be faster.
Flight mode.
So we fly down here, and here's a purple science. Here's these guys. Okay, so it looks like graphene is back, and no longer an issue at all, actually. So our carbon nanotubes are going out in high quantity. And if I'd done the math correctly, we should have enough carbon nanotubes that if this were the only thing that we're using them, then it would be fine. Now I have a strong suspicion that those go elsewhere as well. And that is true. But it's actually backlogging a lot, looks like. It looks like they only go to one other thing. And it's these. Alright, so it should be fine. Should eventually get there, to where the carbon nanotube supply will just almost, but not quite, double now that this demand is lower. And so that can go through. That should give us more of these, which should give us more purple science eventually. Now, can we easily get more of these guys in? Yeah, shouldn't be too hard. So let's do that. So we grab you, copy paste, and we can get at least a couple more machines in before the next tropical line. So let's do that. All of these upgrades go across. And it looks like we need to squeeze... No, power poles were just not constructed just yet. So that should be more carbon nanotube production. Hopefully the graphene is up to the task. It should be fine. Okay, now the carbon nanotubes are backlogging even in here, which means that this is now going quite nicely. Alright, everything is looking like it's basically making the progress we would want it to make in terms of eventually getting backlogged. There's some stuff which is still having issues, like these. I don't even know what these things are called. What are they? Particle broadbands? Yeah, particle broadbands are still going to be short, just sort of by the nature of how exactly they work. But we can upgrade this, and we can do so quite easily because this is assembly machine Mark 1s. So let's see, these are currently going 7 per minute. How far are you? I have sort of just recently unlocked green science. I haven't done much with it, but we are making good progress, I would say. Okay, so we need to... Can we just... Is there really no way to just directly upgrade to Tier 3? I guess I have to have a couple of Tier 2s sitting around in my inventory to just upgrade through them. So let's just grab like 20 of those and head back over. Green science, it's like the... I think it's the second to last science. Like, if... Let's see, if we look at the tech tree, like... You can see I'm pretty good. I've got pretty strong progress towards like most of the important techs being unlocked. Alright, so now that I have some of the Tier 2 assembly machines in, I can upgrade through them and make these guys extra fast. And I don't actually know how much faster they are now. So that gets upgraded, and all of that stuff should now be faster than it was, which should hopefully catch us up to having enough of these because we've been short on them for ages. Oh, and it looks like the titanium supply is down again. So let's head all the way back over to see how exactly the titanium supply is doing. I really need to remember that this is a planet and it's faster to just go around the other way at this point, because we've made probably like 3/4 of the way around the planet at this point. Alright, so here we are. What are you able to use for fuel other than wood? So the big thing is coal, and you can pretty early get a technology to convert coal into combustible units, which I think are a lot better than coal. And that's what I used for fuel for the mech for a very long time. And then obviously you can also just skip that out with wireless power towers, which can just charge your mech from the grid. So you can use solar panels or wind turbines or whatever it is. So it's going to be some combination of that, basically. The combustible units, eventually they'll get better fuel than combustible units, but those will be good for a long time, and wireless power towers. Alright, so if we look here at the titanium production, this is going fine, and it just needs faster. The belts seem like they're probably fine or close to fine. Let's just upgrade them to make sure. It's got this whole weird thing where it's like this awful alternating of pre-upgraded and unupgraded. So let's get all that down. And then let's just copy paste another blob of these. I think I caught some random belts in that, but that's fine.
Extraterrestrial dark fog is assaulting.
Okay, let's see if they destroy anything this time. But we should have gotten around to improving security on Agena 1 by that point, but hopefully it'll be okay. Alright, so that is even more titanium smelting. Feels like there's got to be a better way of doing that, but there isn't. At least our replicator is kind of intact again. At least it's like flowing reasonably quickly, even if it hasn't apparently caught all the way up yet. Okay, so they damaged some laser towers, which got immediately cured, and then they lost most of their units. Alright, that looks fine. Alright. Good. Obviously, if that attack had succeeded, there wouldn't be much that I could do about it, to be honest, because it's kind of far away. Can't get there fast enough to do anything about it, but
Extraterrestrial dark fog is assaulting.
fortunately that isn't an issue. Alright, so now we need to upgrade that again to get even more titanium throughput, which for some reason is a tremendous problem nowadays.
Flight mode.
And that actually dropped off super hard. Did you run out of ore or something? No, the ore is still fine. It just dropped off from being backlogged to not being backlogged. Okay, that's not an issue.
Flight mode.
So all the titanium's going through. And that should hopefully get us back under control for our carbon nanotubes. And then at some point we can swap over to that alt recipe for carbon nanotubes with just the, what are these, stalagmite crystals, and that will save us a ton of work, but we're gonna have to go off to another new solar system to find the stuff to do with that. So that is going to be a bit of a chore.
Flight mode.
Alright, so titanium is hopefully fixed, although like already we're starting to get to the point where there's not that much of on the belts, but it is backlogging again. Alright, so titanium is backlogging again. All of this stuff looks fine. The carbon nanotube supply is fully saturated. And the particle broadbands are just sort of doing their thing. I have so much just random junk in my inventory. I need to find a box to throw them all in at some point. Alright, actually particle broadbands have caught up now. And now it's actually processors which are short, which isn't terribly surprising since they're used for like 50 different things. So let's head back and see what we need to do to fix those. Hopefully it's just upgrade machines. It is not. They are low on microcrystalline components, which are low on seemingly the silicon stuff. Yeah, the pure silicon is their main problem. And also the belts in here are all weird and janky, so that's not great. Alright, so the silicon. Fly all the way down here and try to fix that. Where do we do that bit of smelting? It's all the way down here. This isn't one of the ones with an alt, right? No, some of the things that you get from it have an alt. This is just requires pure brute force, and the problem is actually that we're just straight up don't have any silicon ore. Okay, so we're going to have to go over to that other planet and upgrade that, which fortunately is a relatively straightforward fix. So we just open up the map view. That was coming from Agena 2, and we have our fancy advanced mining machines, right? So
flight mode.
That should be fine.
Cruise mode.
And so now we just pop off and start flying. I just realized I didn't throw any fuel in the chamber, so I'm going to have to do that in a second. We'll do that once we get up to full speed. Okay, we're apparently traveling real close to the Dark Fog Hive. Please just ignore me. Okay, that goes in, and we have plenty more as well. So there we go, almost to Agena 2. And we land.
Cruise ended.
Okay, so where on this planet is our base? It's like... Okay, it's basically just this way.
Flight mode.
So we'll fly over this way and find that base of ours. And we need to work out how to fix the silicon situation. So we have plenty of mines here, it's just not enough throughput. That's basically what I was expecting to see, so let's just get you on a patch. And then power across. Alright, we are getting very close. Like, I think I am now technically capable of just straight up making Dyson Sphere components and launching them. So that is exciting for our power production. For now, power isn't currently an issue, although it could be at any second. So we can just attach you up, provide way more silicon than these dinky little guys there, and you should be okay. You should be all fine with that. This is a fast belt, so you don't have to worry about that. So this is now like one full speed belt's worth of silicon. Let's make it be 2, just so that we have a bit of buffer. So we just have to get you in to there, and that should just automatically work. There we are. So now you should be able to output everything you have, and we can set you up to 200%, because why not? The power grid can handle it somehow. So that should be all the silicon we need. Should be more than enough. And now we've got all that getting launched, and Is there anything else that needs to be done on this planet? I don't think so. I think you're basically set. This is a very simple planet without much going on, so we can just move on from there. And back over to our home base.
Flight mode. Cruise mode.
Which is, again, going to require getting kind of awkwardly close to the hive, but as long as we just move real fast and ignore it, it's normally fine. Okay, yeah, I know, core energy is exhausting. I know. Can we just yoink some of that in? Alright. There we go. And now we just have to not miss the planet, which I have done before, and it is incredibly annoying when it happens. It's like the worst possible thing. Okay.
Ended.
We successfully landed. And where are we? We're
Flight
sort of
mode.
near the start of the bus. So let's fly down here to grab some recharge. And we can just stand in here to get all that powered back up. And then, how is our science looking? We still have no excess stockpile of purple science except for those that are in the labs. So there's not much point doing anything that requires that. So we can just like throw in, I guess, solar sail life doesn't require purple science. So we can just do that for a little bit. Although I don't even know if that's at all useful, because we don't have any solar sails now, and we've sort of just like skipped past them on the tech tree in terms of just going straight to Dyson sphere segments. So we'll see. It might wind up being useful. It looks like that silicon stuff did get sorted out mostly. So we head back to here. These are now looking a lot better on the microcrystalline components front. So let's upgrade these to produce faster. And then do we need to... Let's upgrade these ones to produce faster as well. We might as well use the mining machine Mark IIIs just because we can. So that should be a big solid jump in the amount of processors we make. The upgrades are so fast when you just have the science for them. Does this ever like go into anything other than just increasing the lifespan? I don't think so. Alright, then let's do vertical construction, because what we really need is more layers of things. Okay, is this able to even output everything? It looks like it is. Alright, so this is... It should be a lot better in terms of the microcrystalline component production. So the speed is faster, and it looks like the purified silicon is showing up at an acceptable rate now. It actually might... Yeah, it actually looks like the high purity silicon is getting belt speed limited, so we're gonna need to go on an upgrade spree for that then. So we upgrade within this area to prevent any weirdness, and that alone is enough to get it all the way through. Okay, this machine, it doesn't even have a power pole. Let's put one of those in real quick. Alright, so now these are going out, and it looks like the output might even be speed limited. So let's make sure to fix some of that in case that's a real problem. Alright, so now the silicon input is down again, and also the copper input is having issues. I think we might be just about reaching the limits of what we can reasonably do on a bus, because like all of this is just constantly breaking now, and it's hard to expand it too much without taking up more space than we have available. But at least it's better than it was. So this is the copper. It's actually like super balanced in terms of like neither of these are heavily accumulating. We're just super low on both copper and silicon. So we're gonna need to upgrade both of those theoretically, although actually it looks like we're fine. So it looks like the microcrystalline components are backlogging now, which means that these shouldn't need to run as much, which means that we should be in the clear in terms of their inputs being super bad. At least as long as the current rate of input is able to keep up, which I don't know whether it is or not. I guess we'll have to find out. So now, are you short on green circuits? Yeah, so now the processors are short on green circuits.
Upgrade
which
complete.
At least means that we've made a significant improvement. But it does mean that we're going to need a lot of work to get even more upgrades out of it. Okay, how easy is it to increase energy weapon damage? That requires purple science, which is expensive. All of these guys are expensive. I guess we could just do like random ammos. And getting the destroyer unlocked actually shouldn't be terribly difficult, hopefully. So the green circuits, it looks like this is the only place that needs them, but in huge quantities, but boy does it need a lot of them. So those are all going out. Alright, copper supply probably. The copper shortage might be behind some of these other issues as well. Like the green circuits might be low on copper. No, green circuits look fine on inputs. They just need to produce faster, so let's give them that. Congratulations, you've been upgraded. And we will also boost up their sorters for the output. So now this is a full green belt, which I don't know if that's enough. So let's make it a blue belt. At least out until the point where some of them get removed from it and it doesn't need to be anymore. So this is... It looks like that is almost there. Yeah, so now at this point, this is around where I swapped to using blue belts to build with anyways. So now our green circuits are going out like crazy, and the microcrystalline components are dropping off again. Are the processors at least getting caught up to their demand? Because theoretically we shouldn't need an infinite number of processors. But boy, does it look like we need more than we currently have. Okay, so processors are backlogged out to here, but both of these are backing up. So that should eventually, emphasis on eventually, in like a year, be done. Alright, so we've finished that random upgrade. I don't know if we have enough to do destroyer yet. Plasma turret seems fancy. So plasma turret is target type versus space. Short range plasma turret is for ground and air, and then you have to make plasma capsules to shoot them. Well, that seems quite fun in terms of destroying dark fog. I don't know if it's necessary though. So let's just go back into this area and see if we can get like anything in here. So we can obviously just load up a pile sorter upgrade. That's basically free. Not that I use pile sorters much, but you know, might as well get the upgrade when you can get the upgrade. And then let's fly back to here to check how our stockpiles are doing. Alright, we've gotten up to 194 purple and several hundred green, actually. So we can almost do something reasonable with science again. And let's see, was there something else, like fancy technology stuff that I could craft that I just haven't gotten around to crafting yet? So we fly down here, and we have our stacks of those, we have our stacks of those. Both of them are not fully capped out yet. Alright, pile sorter upgraded. Very cool. Ray transmission efficiency. You can just do that. So the last thing we did was the, what's it called? The assembly machine Mark IIIs. We haven't done plane smelters yet, and it looks like there is a tier 3 smelter, so I might try to hold off even longer to get that, unless this is just some other random building that's in this spot. Now, these require unipolar magnets, which I would need to go and get. What else do those give? There should be some other thing in here somewhere. Yeah, okay, particle container, actually. That's good, because that's something I've been chronically short on. So, we could go do that. The other alternative is start working on building the Dyson sphere. So, how does this work? We make Dyson sphere components. We launch them in small carrier rockets. So we make these, right? Then we construct these, and then we just launch them through the vertical launch silo.
Extraterrestrial dark fog,
and that would give us a Dyson sphere, which I guess. So we have all the components to build the vertical launching silo. We have, I think we never made Deuteron fuel rods, so we need to do that to make the small carrier rockets. And that would then provide power, and
upgrade complete.
Then we would get the power back through a ray receiver, which we can also craft those to provide us with power. Alright, let's try getting that just like very basically set up. Now we shouldn't need to do... What is this solar sail attaching speed thing? I don't even understand what that does or like what that means. But I guess we can do something in here. I thought there was something in here that we could do that didn't require extra fancy stuff up in that section. No, okay, so that's basically, it's basically just like pile sorter and solar sail life. So I guess let's do solar sail life, and at some point we might actually burn through all of our yellow science backlog, which would be a nuisance. Let's check how close that is to happening. So we go over here. We have 3,500 yellow science. Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem for the foreseeable future. So that can all go through, and you also have most of the resources. You actually don't have enough diamonds, but that's... yeah, I mean, that's fine. We can add a little bit more of this in just for free. So we grab that, we place it down, and then we connect the belts up. So that goes down to there, that goes up to there, bam, we've doubled our diamond production. So that should be fine now, and I don't think we'll have energetic graphite shortages ever. I think we have plenty of that. So that should get yellow science production going more quickly, as well as whatever else diamonds are used for, which I think is there's something, but not much. Okay, so let's start with the whole Dyson Swarm
Upgrade.
thing. I guess we might as well do some of that. We've gotten all these upgrades into Solar Sail Life that we might as well, right? And that's on to needing purple science. That needs all the types of science, and I have no idea what it does. Vein utilization is purple science. Anything in here that doesn't require too much. I guess there's the destroyer, right? This should be relatively achievable. So let's do that. And then we'll have that technology unlocked. And then so we need to make ray receivers. We need to make I don't know if we need to make EM rail ejectors. I guess we probably should make like 1 or 2 just for the sake of having done that step. We're going to need to mass produce solar sails, which is graphene and excited photon combiners, which we actually have a fancy new recipe for, although we can probably get by with the old recipe considering how much all this other stuff we're going to need. Alright, so let's do this one at a time. So first step is to manual craft an EM rail ejector, which needs supermagnetic rings, which should be just sort of like around in this general vicinity, unless... Okay, we actually don't have enough supermagnetic rings. So we're going to have to sit here and grab these. And I can't remember how many of them we needed, but it's okay. It's not that hard to make them. So let's craft up a couple and grab a bunch of those and see if that lets us make the EM rail ejector. Yes, it does. So we can queue that up. So we can queue up an EM rail ejector. And that is step 1. Step 2 is ray receivers, which we are going to want to automatically craft because we might need a bunch of them.
Replication complete.
And so ray receivers are steel, silicon, photon combiners, processors,
Extraterrestrial dark
magnetic
fog
rings.
is assaulting.
Okay, so steel.
Mineral depleted.
Okay, so let's actually just start
Flight mode.
by setting this up. And we are going to need to seriously upgrade. We're going to need to do something about Agino 1. It's just constantly getting hit hard and taking damage. Okay, so step 1 will be setting up our assembler row, which we certainly do not need the fancy high-tech assemblers for this. We're not going to be able to use anywhere near this full output, and we're hardly ever going to need these. So, we get you, make ray receivers, you make ray receivers. So, we need steel, graphite, photon combiners, processors, EM
Research
rings.
complete.
Processors are right here. So let's grab this, bring that a little bit forwards, and there we have it. Photon combiners are probably this one, if I had to guess, or no, that's not it at all. Where's the EM rings? EM rings should be in this general vicinity, I think. It might be these ones. Yeah, it should be these ones. No, that's frames. EM rings, where are you? Which one? It's this belt back here. Okay. We found them in the end. It's so much harder to tell when the belts are empty 90% of the time. One of the many reasons to want to have sufficient production of everything to keep up. Alright, so processors, check. Magnetic rings, check. Photon combiners, high purity silicon, steel. I think all of those are going to be relatively far back.
Flight mode.
So let's fly back this way. See if we can find it. Is this... This is high purity silicon. Okay. So we can bring this forwards. And you go across there. And just get this built all the way down that way. And then it all gets built up. And it just keeps going. So that is high purity silicon available in approximately the right area. Now we just need photon combiners plus steel, and we need to set this up to have an extra input. Alright, photon combiners and steel. I think photon combiners are like way back and we only use them like once or twice. Steel is like weirdly over on this side of things because I was able to get super far into the system before I actually needed to craft it. But it should be a little bit further. Yeah, okay, here's the steel. It's very easy to just walk directly past it because there's just so many belts. And so this just keeps on going up this way. And, oh, no, I connected that up wrong. I connected that up entirely wrong. So first of all, make sure to disconnect you. Second of all, we go back to here. So this is about where I got it wrong. So we dismantle you, then we chain dismantle that. So now we can bring this forwards and not have that be set up wrong. Alright, so this just keeps on moving. And a little bit further. Almost there. And then we're going to have to run back and get it all built, which we can do while we look for the photon combiners. Alright, so that is as far forward as it needs to go. Now we just run back and get all these built. And the photon combiners could genuinely be anywhere. There's just no way of knowing. Okay, so we just keep on moving. Let the construction drones get these couple bits before we move past them. I wonder if we can reasonably do any upgrades to our construction drones, or if we're just going to be kind of stuck with these relatively slow guys for a while. Alright, so steel is now in, that's going forwards. Now we need to run back to find the photon combiners, and also is this fuel still in there? Yeah, it is. Okay.
Mineral
so that's
depleted.
fine. Minerals get depleted every so often, and I do not have enough context to know what mineral has been depleted and whether it's a problem or not. The answer is usually no, but it's always possible that it becomes a problem. Okay, so here's the photon combiners, right? Just this belt here. And we're probably going to need to set up like an entire custom factory that only does Dyson sphere component stuff. For now, I just want to like get the very basics going so that we can have some of that stuff up and running. Alright, so this gets built forwards, and this time we'll let it build as we go. So we don't have to run back because this will be the last ingredient for the current recipe. So that just keeps going forwards, and we keep running along with it. And that just keeps going forwards. And we keep on running along. Alright. Making good progress. Just gotta click every so often, and then let the construction drones do their thing. And this should be set up soon. We are most of the way there. Moving past the purple science now. And that all goes through. Okay, now we have to be careful because it's trying to connect it up to some weird thing, which we definitely do not want to do. We just keep on going, and we are almost there. Alright, that gets us to where we need to be. Alright, so now we have everything we need to craft ray receivers up by the ray receiver construction. So, now we take... Actually, we should be able to just sort of do this more easily than I did it last time, where we just add this belt in here. And then we connect you up to the input. Now, all of these need to be going in to the respective input lanes, so let's get that set up. And we just have them go into splitters so that we can run the main belt along after this is finished for future production lines.
Mineral depleted.
So that all goes across. And now these start going in. So you loop around that way into that. You come down into that one. Then this one goes over to there. This one goes into that one. And finally this one. Okay, we actually want to be a little bit careful with this one because we need the output bell to actually be able to get out. So I think we want you to go down like to there and then swoop in at the last moment so that this belt can escape by going out this way and then jumping over one belt to do that. Okay, so now we have that. This should be everything all set up already, right? We already have ray receivers on the belt. So ray receivers, I can't imagine these are used to craft anything. If they are, that will just be unfortunate and something that we learn the hard way later. But for now, we will just not put them onto the main bus. So they can just get a box, which they all feed into. And that box can be limited to like 2 stacks. And it can get a logistics distributor and some drones. And then this whole thing needs to get powered up. So we can just do that. And I guess we will request some of these. Although I can't imagine how many we could possibly use. Now we have ray receivers. Alright, so that is that. Next up, the next step are the solar sails themselves. So that is graphene plus photon combiners, which should be easy, and this isn't done in some weird... I always check that, and it's never in some weird machine. It's always just in a normal thing, but... Alright, so we need you to be aligned slightly further out because of this, which means we need to manually connect that belt across, but it's no big deal. Okay, and we need to get more spray coaters, apparently. I have these auto-crafting somewhere, but for now we'll just manual craft a couple of them and then hopefully stop by in the future for that. Alright, so now you make solar sails. And that is graphene plus photon combiners, both of which we've used quite recently. So, let's see here. Graphene... I'm pretty sure we've used graphene recently. Yeah, it's right here. Although, belt supply, not so much. We're going to have to head back because we were down to like 50 belts. So we will head back and just grab some more belts. That should get us topped off to last for a good while once we have those. And we really need to work on just getting this like more reliably everywhere we could possibly use them. So let's see. One more distribution range upgrade would get us to 180 degrees. It required 1200 green, which I do not think we have anywhere near 1200 green. Alright, so that
Flight mode.
will have to wait for really quite a while, probably. Let's actually check. Yeah, we have 0 spare green and only a couple hundred spare purple. So there's not much we can do on that front. So instead, we will just fly back over here and start getting these solar sails down. So, already some of these inputs, yeah, the magnetic rings are definitely not doing great. That's fine, because the graphene and photon combiners are doing okay. So, we just get one there, and we get this belt to come out a little bit, and then you get a splitter. So now these can both connect up, and then we just send these in, and we send them into those two just because those are the ones with the best throughput potential, because they're closest to the machines, in case that matters. And we will preemptively upgrade those machines. So now we have solar sails, and these we are going to add onto the bus because there's, I don't know, there's like 1 or 2 other things that use them, right? So we might as well. So that comes out to here. The last item to get added to the bus was that, I believe, the quantum chips. So this next row is one past them. It should be right there. And it'll probably not get used much, but it will get used occasionally. Alright, so now we have our solar sails. So the first thing we need to do is... how does this work? EM rail ejector. Get some foundation in this random puddle. And you can go in right there.
An EM rail ejector. You've taken the first step in building a Dyson sphere. Now use it to eject solar sails into space to form Dyson swarm. You must supply solar sails to each EM rail ejector and configure target orbit for solar sails.
All right.
You can also copy orbit data from an ejector and paste to another. If you want a more diverse Dyson swarm orbit, click the Dyson sphere button at the bottom left corner of the screen to open the Dyson sphere panel. There you can customize orbits for your Dyson swarm.
Alright, fair enough. Let's click auto orbit mode. So you can just do that, I guess. How does this work? Edit orbit, I guess. Alright, what is all this? So this is like actually determining the exact orbits. Okay, so this button just... okay, so that's just for PC optimization, which I don't really care about. Now, if I just click that and tell it to just... and I just don't change anything, and just tell it to create a new orbit, hopefully that will work. Okay, so now we want this to just go into here. And does this... so is this an inserter situation? Yes. I believe this is an inserter situation and not a belt direct... not a direct belt situation like a mining drill or whatever. So, we feed you into there. We have to put the Tesla tower a little bit far away, apparently. Alright, and now you are launching. And that is pretty cool. So how is that actually working? So now what we need to do is grab a ray receiver, which we have 7 of those. So let's just grab one of those, pop that down over there, I guess.
You've built a ray receiver. It can receive high-energy rays from the Dyson sphere and directly transmit them into the power grid. However, due to limited receiving efficiency, the ray receiver will request greater input power than the actual output. You can improve the receiving efficiency by continuously running it.
So right, that's those upgrades we were doing. So you have apparently photon generation mode. So if it requires energy at a very high power level and stores it directly as critical photons. What does that mean exactly? Okay, so you are apparently producing some amount of power, but it's hard to tell what. Got an achievement somehow. And so that has just stopped now for some reason. Is it because... Alright. How on earth does this work? So we have orbit 1, which is like that. Now, if we had orbit 2... I don't know. I have no idea what I'm doing. It says no available orbit. So is it just not launching because it can't access the orbit from where we currently are? It's got to be that, right? Like, sort of strange, but sure. So the point was never to make a Dyson swarm anyways. We always wanted to make an actual Dyson sphere instead. So the Dyson swarm can make 830 kilowatts, and Dark Fog Hives intercepted minus 7,560 watts, so they can steal some, I guess. Alright, so that's annoying. Oh, is this? I see all these little specks. That might be them. I'm not sure. It's hard to say. Anyways, we have that. We have the ray receiver. Photon generation mode seems to not be unlocked. Is that like something... Is that a later technology, maybe? So you'd probably be like up here. I'm not entirely sure. Not entirely sure how that works. But it might be the case. Or there's just something that I'm missing. There might just be something that I'm missing. And then I did see this, that there's a tech that lets you put a graviton lens in there to make it more efficient. Alright, anyways. We have the sails, right? So then the next step in making an actual Dyson sphere is take the sails, plus frame components, plus processors to make sphere components. Then take sphere components, plus deuteron fuel rods, plus quantum chips to make small carrier rockets. Launch those in the vertical launching site. And then from there, we can make an actual Dyson sphere as opposed to just a temporary Dyson swarm. So, let's start working on that. So the first thing we're going to need is we have frame materials constructing. We have all the parts for the Dyson sphere components. The thing we are missing is the deuteron fuel rods. So let's make those. So we need deuterium, magnetic coils, which we're going to need to do something about, and titanium alloy, which should be fine. And is that in is just in an assembler like normal. Cool. I was thinking it might be a chemical plant or something, because it is sort of a chemical planty type of thing, but nope. Not the case. Alright, so let's get some of that stuff in. And you are going to be making deuteron fuel rods. So, we need the magnetic coils, because seemingly everything, like, we haven't needed them for ages, and now, like, all of the past 5 recipes have needed them. So that will go up here, and hopefully we can at least build up a little bit of a stockpile of them for this recipe in particular. So those loop around and go into there. Then we need to find our deuterium and our titanium alloy. The titanium alloy should be relatively close. Just like back over here somewhere. It's not in the titanium glass, that's just regular titanium. But it is in these Corvettes. And apparently in something else. It's this belt here. Which, oh yeah, they went into those, of course. The fancy mining machines.
Depleted.
Alright, so now we just bring this belt forwards a bunch. And then forwards the rest of the way. And that will be our titanium alloy done. And then we need to worry about deuterium. Did I ever add deuterium onto the main bus? I don't think I did. So I think we are going to want to just set it up via logistics network to just ship it over. That should be much easier than belting it all the way across now. So here is our deuterium source. Actually, it looks like we did add it to the main bus. We've got this belt going out here. And, oh, right, this was something to do with strange matter or something, I think. So we have to follow this belt all the way... I lost it instantly. Where did it go? Okay, here we are.
Flight mode.
Right out here. We follow this all the way back over this way. I think it then just adds onto the main bus here. Yes, it does. And from here we can pull it forwards and just get it all the way over where we need to. So that'll all get built up. We get those first couple of belts done while we're in this area so we don't have to come all the way back here. There we are. Okay, so now we run all the way back down this way. And we click again, and we're almost there. We are almost there, so one more click ought to get us close enough. Alright. So now we pop that in, we pop that in. And we might need to fix the deuterium production, because it seems like it wasn't actually running at all anymore. Because it is sort of an overflow for the hydrogen, which I think isn't a problem we've had recently. So we might need to do something about that. Anyways, here's the deuteron fuel rods, which should also be like 1 billion times more powerful for the fuel chamber. So we can do that as well. So these are going to need a designated spot. So that is where the solar sails wound up. So we get another one just past that for the deuteron fuel rods. And then they go out this way and in. And then they are going to get... Actually, can we put a depot on top of this type of splitter too? We can. Although I don't think that's actually what I want. So I think I want the depot for our personal storage to be disconnected from the supply of deuteron fuel rods that are going to the main bus. Oh, and that's too close to the EM rail ejector, so we need to move that out a little bit over here instead. Which requires foundation, because this whole area is a giant puddle. Somehow I ended up with like 700 tier 2 belts. It must be from that massive swarm of upgrading that I did. Alright, so that gets upgraded. We limit that to 1 box. And now we start getting it set up to provide to me. And we will add on a requester for those as our new, hopefully just our new main source of power. So we get those. They are all delivered instantly, of course. And then we're going to have to get another belt out this way to deal with their actual output for this next process. Alright, so Deuteron fuel rods, check. Next up is Dyson Sphere component, which is frame, solar sails, and processors. So, let's head down. None of these are in fancy machines. They are not.
Flight mode.
Okay, so let's head down here. And we need an ordinary row of machines. So that's for the components. This one will be for the carrier rockets. And
Extraterrestrial
that
dark fog
should
is
be
assaulting.
all that we need. Oh, there's a tutorial for this. Okay, for the ray receiver. Power generation, photon generation. Yeah, photon generation is unlocked after that one technology, which we don't have yet. And then that lets us store energy as antimatter, so it's sort of a battery type of thing. And transmission efficiency is lower at first during energy transmission from the Dyson Sphere to the ray receiver. It can be increased by upgrading technologies or continuing operation. Very strange. Primary receiving power of each ray receiver is 6 megawatts, which can be increased by continuing operation. And when it's on the night side, it slows down. And it gets way more power if it's at 100%, and we can feed it to gravitational lenses to make it better. And apparently the photon generation mode produces more power. Okay, so that should be fine, probably. We just don't need to spend too much time looking at that, but we are going to need a bunch of ray receivers if we build a big Dyson Sphere, which is expected. Alright, so you get to be Dyson Sphere components. You need frames, solar sails, and processors. And then these components, do they do anything other than the carrier rockets? I'm going to say probably not. Although, just in case, actually, we should be responsible and send them out onto the bus. It doesn't make much of a difference. Wastes a bit of space, but not much.
Flight mode.
Now let's fly over to, actually, is it doing this thing again where, yeah, it did the thing where it put our belts in that section instead of in the main inventory where they can be used. But we still need to fly over here and pick up more. So let's do that real quick. So our area where the belts get produced is right down here, and here we are. So we can pick up all these drones, and let's just go for it and increase the distribution range. I don't think we have the resources to actually finish this, but we might as well get it started. It's going to be so very nice if we don't have to constantly interrupt ourselves to head back for that sort of thing ever. Alright, so now we head back this way, and how close are we actually to... Yeah, I mean, we can see we've made it like 3/4 of the way around the planet at least. So that's quite a lot. It's quite a lot. We're probably gonna have to move to other planets for when we do later, like, higher quantity stuff, just because this planet doesn't have space at all. Alright, so frames, processors, belts. Processors are here. So processors are there and they just go across. Solar sails are there and they just go forwards. Frame components are going to be a little bit further back, but not by much. Should be like... I'm pretty sure this guy used them? Yeah, so we got frame components there to make the mining drills. And we just pull that belt forwards a little bit.
Flight mode.
And all the way out to there. And that should get us done. So now we can make Dyson sphere components. And we just need to put our splitters on all of these. So you get a splitter. You get a splitter, and you get a splitter. So now we just run the belts forwards into all of those and bring them down into the production line. So you go down that way, loop all the way around, and then in. Then you do the same thing. Loop all the way around and in, and then the sails themselves, they loop around and in,
Extraterrestrial
and
dark
that
fog
should
is assaulting.
give us our Dyson sphere components. And that runs all the way out here into another splitter, which then goes into that. And then we have to get all of these belts finished. And that will be Dyson sphere components constructed. Also, it looks like we might successfully be angering dark fog enough for them to actually do stuff.
Flight mode.
Like, that's going to be an issue, which will probably be high on our priority list for next stream, but for now I think we can get away with ignoring it. So now we just need to grab the two things we just made plus the quantum chips, and then that should give us our carrier thingamabobs. Alright, quantum chips. Where are you? Are you here? Yeah, here you are. They look kind of bluish, but uh-oh, I messed up. Whoopsies. I accidentally gave another thing the same spot as the quantum chips instead of one over. Alright, that's fine. We can correct this. Quantum chips can just go around. And why is this just like all exactly in the way to be maximally annoying? That Tesla tower gets rebuilt like right there. This belt continues around, does not go down to level 1. So we need to dismantle all of that and try again. Then this belt wraps around like that, and then back in, and then forwards. Alright, we managed to get that solved. Also, the EM rail ejector is ejecting again. So that's cool. We do have that goal thing where it wants us to make 1,000 of them, which is going to take a while, but we'll get there eventually. Okay. So we have those, we have those, we have those. It's just these 3 items, right? Okay, so actually I don't want that to be splitting there. I want these to be going in like that. So you go across to that splitter, you go across to that splitter, you go across to that one, and now these three all go in. And all the way down there. So then you go in and all the way down there. And then you do the same thing. And that should give us our small carrier rockets. And that should be enough to start making a Dyson sphere somehow. Which I still don't know how that works, by the way. We're going to have to find out. But all of those go in. And now we have this. So, can we belt this all the way over? We can get it, like, out to there. And then I guess we can swap to these conveyor belt Mark IIs, because if this ever is a full conveyor belt, then that will just be a very good problem to have. So that belt goes all the way out. These are not getting Deuteron fuel. What did I connect up? I connected up solar sails instead of the fuel rods. That's what I did. Okay, so that's fine. So that gets dismantled. That goes down. We need a splitter there, which gets the fuel rods, and then goes onto this belt. And then we gotta pick up all these solar sails off of the belt. And there we go. Now you are all functional and set up correctly. Okay, can I just like manually toss some of those in? No, I cannot. That's fine. So total solar sails, 270. So that is good. The ray receiver seems to be receiving some rays. So that's good. And the continuous efficiency thing is slowly ticking up, which is fine. Alright, so now we have all these small carrier rockets. So, the last thing we need for this is a vertical launching silo, which we need a whole bunch of stuff to successfully craft. We need titanium alloy, frame materials, graviton lens, quantum chips. Alright, so the titanium alloy is right here. So we can grab all of that. I believe that is enough. Then we need the frame material, graviton lens, quantum chip. Frame material is next. That should be in this general vicinity, right? Is that what this belt is doing? That's probably what one of these empty belts is doing. Alright, frame material. Where are you crafted, and how is your production going? Alright, so your production is theoretically going fine. It has all of the inputs it needs. Just needs to be faster, so let's get you a little bit faster just like that. And how much of this stuff do I need? I need 30, which is going to take forever. So let's upgrade you. So we get this, and okay, we actually managed to get a useful copy paste that doesn't require us manually intervening every single paste. So we can get all those in, and we need to pick up the belts. We need to pick up the belts to actually get this built. And that is going to be somewhere over this way. We've managed to build up a good stockpile of purple science, because obviously we cannot use enough green science. Alright, so now we're over here. Got all these belts. Let's just grab those manually. The Drones are off trying to deliver belts to me, but they can't because I moved past them too quickly. Alright, so now we can fly back over and get it all built up. So over we go. And this is where we were working. So now we do have enough to build everything, so we can just stand here and get this all done. And that should increase our amount of frame materials by a lot. And there we are. Hopefully that will be good enough. Also, hopefully we don't wind up short on some of the inputs to these and causing all sorts of random unpredictable problems elsewhere. So for now, we just have to control left mouse button to pick these up off the belt as they pass, and we need 30 of them, which we now have. Now we need 20 graviton lenses, which are way down here somewhere. I think just actually somewhere in this area, right? Or, yeah, here you are. Alright, graviton lens. So the graviton lens needs more of this, which needs more miniature particle accelerators in order to work. So is that... Those are insanely expensive, including a lot of the stuff which we're already short on. So I think we can just grab them off of there, and that should be fine. So now we can craft you up
Flight mode.
And be good to go. Alright, so we craft you up, we fly down to here.
Mineral depleted.
And that replication